Okay, today we're continuing with the laws of Lashon Hara, and as always, there are a lot of practical laws, and as we said before, reviewing these laws it's especially important because this is something we deal with every day, every moment of our lives. We communicate, and we have to be aware whether this communication is permitted or not. So we mentioned last time that even if a person is going to suffer financial loss, he's still not allowed to say anything negative about others. And even if a person includes himself in the story, and he says it happened to us, it's still forbidden. And not only that, you're not even allowed to speak Lashon Hara about yourself. You're not allowed to degrade yourself. You're not allowed to say negative things about yourself for many reasons. Number one, because this teaches others that such bad behavior can be done. If you say, for example, that, oh, my children did this and I overreacted and I was screaming at them, so then you're teaching others that when children misbehave, you're supposed to scream. You're showing them your example, and they might follow it. Number two, you're lowering yourself in their eyes, and just like you're not allowed to lower anyone else in people's eyes, you're not allowed to lower yourself in people's eyes. Okay, now we're going to new halachot, and that is, yes?
If it's for the purposes of a class in which you're sharing things that you did wrong, but that you're like, expressing, oh, well, now I understand that this was wrong, I did this, but this is like a learning curve.
Yeah, that's good. And one way you can say negative information is if you teach people a lesson from it and how you overcame and what they should do. And you use it as an example. Don't do this because that's what's going to happen to you. Rather do that. Okay. The more people that listen to a negative statement, the greater the sin is. Because for every person that listens and believes your negative information, the more damage is going to be done for the person who you're speaking about, and the more people you are causing to stumble by listening and believing your words. So not only the speaker is punished for what he said, but he is also punished for all the people that heard it afterwards. And if you spoke to one person, but then this person went and spoke to others, so you were the source of so many people thinking negatively and potentially harming that individual. And if you yourself are speaking to many people, to a group of people, and knowingly you're sharing this information to them, then the punishment is even greater, because you know that right now you're degrading this person in front of this one and this one and this one. And each one is a separate sin. Now, there is a concept, it's a difficult concept, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because it's rarely applicable and it's often misused, and that is something that was spoken in front of three people under certain circumstances could be not Lashon Hara. And I'm not going to go into it again because many people misinterpret it, but what I will say is that if you said something that could be interpreted both positive and negative, you said a certain statement that people use it sometimes for good and sometimes for bad. And therefore, we're not sure what did you mean. Did you mean to make fun of a person, or you really were honest in praising him? So then we say that if you spoke in front of three people, then most likely you meant good. But that's only if your intent was good and you didn't add any facial expression that would show that you're really making fun. And you're willing to say this in front of the person that you're speaking about. That shows that you're the meaning of your statement was positive. But if you just said it to one person, then we assume that you meant it the bad way. If your facial expression showed, or if you said, keep it quiet, and you would not be willing to repeat it to the person himself, then we assume you have bad intention. But from here we see that it's not only the open Lashon Hara is forbidden, but even something that could be interpreted as good or as bad, you should still stay away. And that's why jokes are very dangerous, because you might be just enjoying someone's company and laughing at each other, but but you never know how your words are gonna be interpreted. And many people are sensitive, and they take your joke and they hurt from it for many days to come. Okay, now there is something called avak lashon hara, and this is what we just spoke about. Something that is not clearly lashon hara, but it could potentially become that. An example of it is hinting to existence of negative information. You're not saying negative information, but you're telling the person that you know something that is negative about this person. Some are more explicit than others. For example, if somebody asks you about a certain person and you say, I don't even want to tell you what he did. So you didn't say what he did, but in reality you spoke negatively about that person because you hinted that this person did something that is not good. Or you say, let's not talk about him or her. You may feel good. Yes, look, I didn't speak Lashon Hara. I avoided the sin, but in reality, you just spoke negatively about the person.
So how would you move the conversation you don't want to talk about?
We have a general rule that in order to protect somebody or to avoid a sin, you are allowed to change the truth. And therefore, if somebody asks you, and this is something we've spoken before, if somebody asks you about yourself even, how was your day? So you don't have to tell them my day was bad. You tell them it was fine. And then go to different subjects. So how's such and such? He's fine. And then switch the conversation. So by telling, if somebody says, how is he doing? And you're saying, I can't tell you, it would be Lashon Hara. That's in itself not allowed. Yes.
So what if somebody mistreated you and then somebody else is acquiring information, you still can say he's fine?
So we said that in order to protect somebody, when there is a constructive purpose, you're allowed to inform the person, right? To protect him from harm. If you know he's about to do a business deal with somebody who is a crook, so following the conditions for Lashon Hara, that you're honest, you don't exaggerate, you yourself witnessed it firsthand, and you try to correct it any other way, either by speaking to a person or by speaking to somebody who can have influence on him, and nothing worked, and your intent is not to put him down but just to protect, then you can reveal information, but only enough to distance him from the harm.
Rabbi, what if you have a hard time with something and I guess you need to talk about it to somebody else? So it does come out as negative, or even about yourself or whatever your dealings are. So how do you then explain to somebody about your difficulty, or
So number one, you have to warn a person that you're about to discuss some negative information, but you're doing it for constructive purpose. Because if he doesn't know and he says, oh, that's good, I'm going to now hear some juicy information, and they hear it with the wrong intent, while you're allowed to say it, they're not allowed to listen. because they don't know that you're saying it for constructive purpose. So number one, you have to tell them that what I'm about to tell you is for constructive purpose. And then you have to be clear whether this is a fact or this is your feeling, your interpretation. For example, if your child came home from school and said something that the teacher did in school, you cannot comment to the principal and say, this is what the teacher did in school, because you were not there. And whether you can trust your child or not is a big question. Children are known to misinterpret facts, to exaggerate, and to imagine things that never happened. And so you have to come to the principal after you try to speaking to your child and trying to work. Maybe the child's behavior needs improvement, and nothing worked, and maybe you contacted the teacher and the teacher doesn't want to speak to you, then maybe you can approach the principal and say, I would like to discuss this teacher, it's for constructive purpose. I don't know this firsthand, my child said it to me, I don't know if it's true, but this is what I heard. And you say it with intention not to hurt the teacher, but to improve the teacher, the classroom, the school, and then that would be permitted.
So what if there's a teacher, principal, and you? You're allowed to say in front of three, this is for constructive, this is what I heard.
Yes, this is what I heard my child. I don't know if he is lying or misinterpreting. I just want to make you aware that this is how he understood things. And I want to hear your side of the story. Okay, and also it's important, another part of Avak Lashon Hara, something that can lead to Lashon Hara, is praising people. When you praise people, there's always possibility that somebody in the audience doesn't share your feelings. Maybe you had good experience with this person, maybe they didn't. And if you praise them, people like to be honest, and they're going to say, oh, I had a different experience with him. So your praise can actually cause this person to be spoken badly about. So even though you said he's a nice person, then somebody might add and say, yes, but he did this to me. So if you know that anybody in the audience doesn't like a certain person, then you should not praise that person. Not only that, you shouldn't even talk about that person, because it's almost certain that the conversation is going to lead to their argument, whatever that person doesn't like. Yes?
So you're making me like reflect right now. So I'm in a WhatsApp group for my son's class, and the teacher's there, and the teacher just said, thank you very much, it's a good year, thank you all this time, I miss the students, and everyone's saying, thank you more, and I said, thank you more, you are like a very reflective type teacher, the children deserve to have another teacher like you. Now I'm thinking, what if one of the other moms didn't appreciate her approach or whatever?
Yeah.
So would that?
Well, that depends on the forum if they will express themselves there. Most likely they're not going to express themselves. But in a group of people, of friends that are just talking, somebody will feel free to just start talking badly about that individual.
So you should never praise anyone ever?
No. You have to make sure that the entire group either likes him or they don't know him and they want to know more information, so you're praising them. But if you know they had some problems between themselves, don't mention the person at all.
So what if you're at a birthday party
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's giving toast? So basically don't give a toast.
Well, at a
They won't say
yes, at a birthday party, it's assumed that people are going to say good things about the person.
You don't know who agrees with that.
Yes. So another rule is that when you praise somebody, don't praise them too much. Because if you praise too much, it's more likely that people are not going to agree. If you praise a little bit, good. But if you praise too much, some people cannot handle it. That someone else should get more praise than them. Even without being an enemy, you can create an enemy.
Doesn't matter if they think stuff bad or if they say stuff bad.
Well, you can. We should try to make people think well as well.
So what's the actual sense?
But right now, what we're speaking about is that they will say something negative. we are only humans. We don't know what goes on in people's thoughts. So I don't even know if somebody hates this person or not. I only know by their behavior and by their speech. I may be mistaken and somebody may be thinking. If they're thinking bad things about him, I don't know about it. And if I praise this person, they're not going to say anything. They're just going to think badly. And I'm not going to know about it.
Always they're gonna think badly, right?
Yes, we're not supposed to increase people's bad feelings about their friends. But right now we're speaking about causing people say Lashon Hara. The exception to this rule is when the person you're speaking to about is a well-known, respectable, righteous person, what we call a tzaddik or a gadol hador, where you can assume that most likely everybody in the audience loves this person, and it's very unlikely that somebody is going to hate him, or even if they hate him, that somebody is going to be expressive about it.
Sorry, so is it just if they're gonna respond to what you're saying, or is it going to the next level of even them thinking?
Yes, so right now we're speaking about them responding to you.
So if I said that compliment to the Mora and no one in that WhatsApp group, even if they do have different feelings,
Yeah.
then it was fine.
That's okay. And also, sometimes it's good for them to hear good opinions about the teacher, because let's say they heard bad things from their children, and now all of a sudden they hear from other parents that this teacher was good. So now they will think twice about what their child says. Okay, now we continue to the next halacha, and that is when a person that you knew for a long time went through changes, and you like to speak about your youth and how you did things together, if it's negative information about the person, you're not allowed to say. Even though you may say, oh, you know, this rabbi, I know when he was young and we used to do trouble together, you're not allowed to say. And even though you're including yourself, and even though it's understandable he was a child or at that time he wasn't religious, you're not allowed to mention it.
Is it because in front of him it would be embarrassing, or even?
Yes, he would be embarrassed, and he doesn't want other people to know how bad he was in the past. And not only that, sometimes people like to joke with each other and say, oh, remember when you were young what you did? Remember you used to not keep mitzvot? So that's also something that you're not allowed to say. Yes?
If somebody, somebody who's very well known, in front of a whole crowd, he says, yeah, I'm about tshuva and blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of people.
Yes, when you see that the person is not embarrassed, and really there is no reason to be embarrassed, it's you should be proud that you grew, you changed, you passed the test successfully. You should not hide it from people, and you should tell your children about it. They're going to be proud of you, and it's going to give them strength that in difficulty they will overcome, because they know that my parents did it. But if somebody is embarrassed of it, you have to take their feelings into account. You assume, if you don't know, you assume that people are embarrassed of their past misdeeds. But if you see that the person is speaking about it and he is proud of it, then you know that it's not embarrassing for him, and then you can use him as an example.
Right, when disciplining your children, when they say inappropriate things and you want to share it with your spouse, sometimes it comes off as like really, I don't know, because you want to say details and how your child behaved.
Yes.
What's the appropriate way?
So these laws apply to every case. Before you share negative information, even if it's about your child and even if it's to your spouse, you have to keep this in mind. Number one, you have to witness it. right? If one of your children said what the other one did, you have to express it. I didn't see it. This is what this said about that. Also, your intention has to be not because of hatred, chas v'shalom, for the child, not because you want to punish him because he hurt you or your other child, but because you're concerned for his well-being, for his development. And when you speak to your spouse, that's what you have to say. I want to speak to you about this child for constructive purpose, and I heard it myself, I saw it myself, I heard it from another child. And you have to be specific, no exaggeration. This is what happened, not adding any extra words to make it more dramatic. And in such a case, that would be permitted. As a parent, we assume that you do have your child's benefit in mind. You're concerned for him, and you're not doing it to hurt him. And you will measure your words and say only what needs to be said to address the issue.
Because the laws of Lashon Hara are also between husband and wife, like they can't.
Yes, the laws of Lashon Hara apply to husband and wife as well.
But are
Yes.
they not supposed to keep things from each other, or not just not speaking about it?
Of course. Things that the other one shouldn't hear because they will be hurt from it or they will hurt someone else because of it, you're not allowed to say.
So, for example, if your child requests, share something with you, specifically requests for you not to share with your spouse, is that Lashon Hara if you share it with them because you were specifically asked by the child that not to share?
Of course, we assume that any personal information that is being shared with you, you're not allowed to pass it on unless a person gives you permission. With anybody.
What if the child is telling you don't tell?
Anybody, even your friend, your child, your coworker tells you information, personal information, you're not free to pass it on, even if it's not harmful, even if it's not negative. And especially if a person tells you, please don't say to others, you're not allowed to say to anyone, unless it's something illegal, they're doing something wrong and they're trying to hide it and they don't want people to know and they will continue doing it. Then if speaking to them and working with them doesn't help, then you have to speak to someone else who has influence on them. But just to share the information for no reason, that's not allowed.
Even if it's a success, like success story, you still.
Yes, if person is going to be hurt by it, then you're not supposed to.
They're requesting not to share it.
Yes, if they specifically tell you not to.
What if it's like a 5-year-old asking not to? Yeah, like an 8-year-old, 7-year-old.
Well, usually in such cases, you as a parent have more tools to convince them that it's really a good thing, and it's good when other people will hear, and it's not scary. There's nothing bad if other people will find out. You can teach them that you don't have to be so shy about your success, and the opposite. You make people happy. People are happy for you, and they'll be inspired. So you don't just go against their word, but you try to encourage them that they shouldn't be shy and embarrassed of it. Yes.
So what if you're speaking to your kid to find out what's in school, how is school going, and the child basically doesn't want to say it. So then you kind of press them a bit. So that it's not pleasant stuff, that whatever was told to the child, because you see the child's always upset. So then you're trying to get from the kid out who said this harmful stuff to them. So no, you're gonna tell them. So promise me you're not gonna tell them. So then they tell you. So you're not allowed to go and talk about it because.
Well,
you
to
see
begin with, if they're
the
telling
child.
you, promise that you're not going to do anything about it, so then the constructive purpose is lost. Because if you promise them that you're not going to,
But you're not saying I promise. You say and you say I'm not promising inside your mind.
no, you see, you're trying to help the child, and if in the process of helping him you are teaching them bad things, then you're doing more damage than good. And so sometimes it's better to work around it, to strengthen the child, teach them how to react to such words or such behavior from other students or
It's not the
teachers.
students, it's the teachers.
Or the
child
teachers,
is a little
yes,
fly next to the teacher.
yes. So if you cannot in a proper way deal with it, let's say you feel the teacher will mistreat your child, or the teacher has too much power in school, so you're afraid to approach the teacher. So then the only thing you can do is give tools to your child to survive the year. You tell them that as soon as the summer is coming, next year you're going to have a different teacher. We love you, you're capable, don't worry. We don't believe what the teacher says about you. You give them strength, personal strength. And it happens, and children survive. You don't necessarily have to fight and change everything.
Let's say so a kid comes to you and like they complain about somebody or something, whatever like that. Are you allowed to validate them by saying, yeah, what the teacher said was really bad, like I really feel bad, like
You have to be careful not to make it more ingrained in them and make them more convinced that what their interpretation of events is what really happened. You can say, if someone would say this to me, I would also be hurt. Or you can say another person in such situation would also feel like that, but not necessarily telling them that that's what really happened.
you have to be validated in a way. Like,
Exactly like that. You tell them that when somebody speaks to me like that, I also don't feel good.
And also, my brother always comes to me like he says, "Oh, don't tell anyone," and he says things very cute all the time, and like I just want to like share it with the whole family. Like, look how cute he is, and like, is that lashon hara? Like, just this, he just like does like silly things sometimes, and like I just try to like I want to share it with the family because he's so cute. Like, is that wrong?
Things that when he grows up he's going to be embarrassed of, then you shouldn't.
I'm gonna be embarrassed if things that we did wrong. Like, what do you mean? Like,
He trusts you not to share.
he's just like, don't tell her that. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's so cute. Like, I can't not tell anyone.
He trusts you not to
Okay,
I shouldn't have
now the next halacha, if you have a group of people who are board members, for example, and they had a meeting and they decided certain things. We're going to provide this for the community. We're not going to provide this for the community. Now, when they leave that meeting, and now people want to know what decisions were made and who voted for such decisions, are they allowed to say that, oh, this good decision was mine and this bad decision was not mine? No, they are not allowed to reveal whose idea it was and who voted for it. Because by saying that I was against it, but the majority wanted it, you're saying lashon hara about the rest of the members. And even if people come and complain, how could have you done such a thing, make such a rule for our community? It's not a good rule. Even in such a case, you cannot defend yourself by saying that it wasn't my choice, it wasn't my decision. You just have to say, this is the decision we made.
I'm just curious, if it's many people, then one vote doesn't tip the scale necessarily. So unless all of the people who didn't want it say I didn't do it, then you can figure out who was the one who voted for it. Then you understand? Like if one
Yes.
person won't give away that, okay, well.
Yeah, even though you're not revealing who
Right.
voted for, it's still not allowed. Because what you're really saying is that I agree with you that it's a bad thing and they did something bad. You just say, we thought about it, we spoke about it, and we came to this decision. You don't know everything, you don't see everything, but we considered all the options, and that's what the conclusion that the group came to. Another very dangerous thing is after a lecture or a class, when people speak about the class, it's very dangerous to give your opinion of what if you felt that it was not worth being there, or if the speaker doesn't know what he's saying, or the speaker is not reliable. Because most of the time, every speaker and every class has something positive. And just like in marriage, there's only one husband and wife that are meant for each other, and others are not going to work as well. So too, between a teacher and a student, some teachers work better with such students, some teachers work better with such students. Some students like one kind of presentation, and other students like a different kind of presentation. So by giving your opinion and say he doesn't know how to teach, how do you know? Maybe the person you're speaking to, maybe he liked it and he benefited and he would like to have this person as his teacher. And by giving him this negative message, now for the rest of their life they will not be able to learn from this person. So you are hurting not only the speaker, you're also hurting the student, that they will not be able to gain anything from this lecture in the future. So we should never say anything negative about speakers, unless speaker made a mistake. Then you can say, he said he was an excellent speaker, he's good, he said this and I heard differently. So you can point out a mistake, but you cannot make general statements about the speaker or his style of presentation. And the next halacha we actually covered already, and that is about confidentiality, that not only if you are professional, but even regular people, if you speak, even if they didn't tell you it's a secret, you're not supposed to reveal it to others. And if you do reveal information, but they didn't ask you, then there is no prohibition, but it's just not a proper thing to do. But if they tell you don't reveal this, then there is actually a prohibition to reveal the secret that you were asked not to reveal. And also if you know that this information may cause damage, then also there is a prohibition to reveal. So in a case where there is no harm, the person didn't ask you to keep a secret, then you're not supposed to reveal the information. But if you do, it's not a sin. Okay, there is a case where even if the person didn't tell you to keep a secret, but the type of conversation that you had was a personal, private conversation. Either he took you aside and he spoke softly, or these are two friends that are so close, they share personal information, then it's assumed that this information does not go outside of these two people. Okay. Now the next set of rules is about judging person favorably. In general, there are three levels of people. When we judge people, and the halacha depends on which category this person fits in. Number one, you have a righteous person. Somebody who most of the time does proper thing. So then, if we see them doing something questionable, we're not sure how to interpret it, then we have obligation to judge them favorably. Because we know that most of the time they do the right thing. It's more likely that right now also, even though we're not sure what they did and what they said, what they meant by it, but we assume that we just don't know the whole story and probably what happened was good. And not only that, even if it tilts more towards the negative, and it looks more that what they did was wrong, it's still proper for us to judge them favorably. And therefore, if we're speaking about a righteous person and we witness that he did something questionable or even more to the leaning towards a sin, we're not allowed to speak about it. And if we speak about it, it's going to be Lashon Hara. Number one, because most likely we misinterpreted the events since they have the track record of doing things right. And number two, even if they actually did a sin, we have a rule that a righteous person who tries to be good, he will do teshuvah at the first opportunity. And so by the time you have a chance to say to someone else, probably they already did teshuvah. They repented and they changed themselves. So now you are not allowed to say this anymore. So either way, either you misinterpreted it and they really did something proper, or even if they did do a sin, they already fixed the mistake and they took upon themselves not to repeat it anymore. The second category is what we call Benoni. Benoni means average person, which means a person who struggles and sometimes he chooses good, sometimes he chooses not good. An average person. So such a person, if it looks equal, 50-50, we're not sure what did he do, what did he say, what did he mean, we are obligated to judge them favorably. And we're not supposed to speak about them badly. If, however, it tilts to the bad, chances are that they really did mess up, then it's a proper thing to judge them favorably, but we're not obligated. And therefore, again, we're not allowed to speak badly about them.